So, welcome everybody to our Cascading Growth events for the 30th of January 2025. Just at the end of the month, I can't quite believe this month has gone already. And we are at that quarter of a century point. So it's fabulous, isn't it? So welcome everybody. We've got lots of lovely guests here with us today. And just to remind you that we record the interview and then we stop recording for the conversations that ensue after the recording. Cascading growth events is something that we at Adaptas set up just last year, which came out of us going as a team going through a process of looking at what's important to us as an organization. Of course, I had created the values for the organization back when I set it up, which is, I think, nearly 18 years ago. But the team and myself decided we needed to revisit those values and make sure that we were bringing the values to the fore, really, really doing it ourselves because we're talking with our clients all the time about it. We're working with leaders around values and helping people create culture. And so we did some really deep diving into what's important to us as a team, what's important to our clients, and thinking about how we can live what we value more. And through our conversations, we all agree that we really believe in the power of conversations, having conversations to create insights, to create awareness. And from those insights and awareness, we all grow. And this is one of the things that we love doing with our work is having these conversations, seeing what comes out of them. And instead of people keeping thoughts locked away in their minds, there's something powerful that happens when we speak, when we come together, when we share our ideas, our knowledge and wisdom. And then, of course, cascading growth then is about spreading that down to others, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, clients. And our values that we kind of landed on were around, there was obviously a lot of things that came up, but we really wanted to just hone in on three values, because we've all, I'm sure all of you that are here today and all of you watching have worked with organizations where there might be 5, 6, 10, 12, even 14 I've come across values that an organization is trying to live by. And when we go above 3, the magic number of 3, it gets very, very difficult for us to make decisions in our day-to-day lives around values. And so we honed it down to 3. And these 3 were around courageous insight, which we kind of detailed out as warmth and candor. And sorry, just letting a few more people in here. And really what courageous insight is about like really only truly knowing and sharing ourselves can we develop the courage to live and work with candor, creating safe and thriving workplaces. So I'm sure you'll all agree there's a lot of conversations that people aren't having in the workplace and in life, and therefore problems become bigger problems than they ever need to be. And it's only through, in my experience and our experience, knowing ourselves, understanding ourselves, then can we have richer conversations, truthful, honest conversations with integrity, where everybody is protected and looked after, and that good outcomes can come from. Collaborative synergy. Obviously, so much of our work is about creating deep connections and equitable experiential learning within our community. And again, today is an opportunity to have an experience and have conversations and think about things that are important to us all. And then cascading growth, as I said, by having these conversations, being curious about how other people think and feel, then we can actually cascade that down and across to other people and help us all reach our true potential. So I wanted today to welcome John Mulreid, our guest, who I have known since, I think, John, we've known each other since about 2017, 18. So that's 6 or 7
Yeah.
years now. And John is somebody who we have just had a great time working together over the last 6, 7 years. And it's really been a relationship that I value for so many reasons. I'm so delighted that John agreed today to come and join us for Cascading Growth. I know he's excited too, so we will get on with the interview shortly. What I just wanted to share with you was a few things. So on the left, you can see the image. So this is the first time we met was to discuss creating a virtual reality project as a learning tool for the work some of the work that John was doing in FBD, and we can talk more about that project later. And we ended up doing two projects creating virtual reality learning tools for the customer contact centers at FBD Insurance. And then you can see on the right, in 2019, we were with the winners of the Excellence in Digital Learning Award with the Irish Institute of Training and Development, which is now the LNDI, I think. And yeah, and the award was, I suppose, this piece won the award because it was important for the judges to see, because we'd been nominated the year before in 2018, it was important for the judges to see sustainability with that tool being used across a number of years. And you can see there's the proud team. And on the left-hand side, you can see the shoot, and on the right-hand side, you can see us all dressed up at the award ceremony with the IITD. LNDI now. And then you can see here this next image. I'm not sure how clearly you can see it, but we created, then John, he'll tell us more about this later, but John moved after nearly 20 years of working with FBD. He moved over to National Broadband Ireland, which is a really exciting organisation that was obviously set up in 2019 to bring broadband to all the furthest parts of Ireland and make sure we all have broadband. And this was another shoot that we did for a virtual reality learning tool that John can tell us more about. But you can see just a little bit of fun here, getting a 360 shot of us all. And John and I have also created various learning development programs with National Broadband Ireland, which have been getting delivered over the last couple of years and have been going really, really well. And then just recently, John published his first book, self-published his first book, which is called HR Learning and Development for Newbies. And I love the subtitle, A Geriatric Millennial's Guide to Learning and Development. So, John, let's let's come to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, John, and how you got to this point of your career. Some of the things I've mentioned there, but go for it. And I'm going to spotlight you and go for it.
I'm a little bit apprehensive about this because when you sit down and talk to somebody who's a doctor of psychology, I don't think it could be classified as a conversation. But anyway, we'll go with it just because I know you. So thank you for that generous introduction and for the recap on all the things that we've worked on together, because you do actually forget where it all starts. So I suppose some of the things that we've done do line up quite nicely with some of my core values, and I guess in some of your core values as well. So I suppose give a brief overview of who I am. I am a geriatric millennial, which means I was born in the early 80s, I believe. Again, I think that's open to challenge, but yeah, I landed on this planet in 1982 and I've been here ever since. So I suppose just to focus in on my career, I started working in 1999 properly after I left school. I believe the day I got my Leaving Cert results, I actually went for an interview for FBD Insurance. And at that time, it was just a case of get a job, start earning, get your foot in the door. And it just kind of grew from there. So I spent the best part of a decade in insurance claims, funny enough. I started off in that environment. And that's where I met some of the people on this call and learned from them as well. So shout out to Rob there, who was actually one of my mentors as well when I worked in claims. So and I worked in insurance claims for nearly 10 years. And I think in year 9, Catherine Whelan, who's also on the call, who was my lifelong mentor, joined FBD. And at that stage, learning and development didn't actually exist in FBD. Like, we did training, but we didn't have a centralized L&D function where like there was a proper strategy, there was proper tools in place, and it was properly resourced. It was all kind of done on an ad hoc basis, and a position became available, and I was very comfortable in claims, I have to say. And I think if Catherine hadn't showed up in FBD, I probably would have stayed in claims for a lot longer than I did. But I suppose something in her and in me made me actually make the jump from a very comfortable environment, very steady, to a brand new, exciting team, project, whatever you want to call it, and kind of take on that challenge as well. And so that's how I ended up starting life in L&D, and then from there it just grew. Like we spent the next, I think it was 7 years, just literally implementing anything you can think of with regards to learning and development, and other things as well, which would probably fall under the heading of talent management. So learned a great deal during that period of time from Catherine and from my colleague Angela in that team, and we did so many things, and like groundbreaking things. I'm going to use Catherine's phrase, groundbreaking, innovative things. And then Catherine left the organization in, I'm going to say 2015, maybe 2014. And it was from there I got the opportunity to actually lead the L&D team. And I think it was then at that point that I was the decision maker, and I was the ones that were having to come up and devise a strategy and think of new ways to train people and that are cost effective as well, because obviously we were in a period where the organization downsized. So you had that challenge of, trying to do more with less. And I suppose that's where the virtual reality project came into play. So I worked in an FBD in learning development then right up until 2019. And then I decided that, well, actually, I decided I need to change companies probably in early 2019. But actually, the opportunity to join MBI only came about in October 2019. And the timing was absolutely perfect for me. And then I made that jump. So I joined, I took a little break. I joined MBI in February 2020. So I'll be 5 years here next month. And it's been really exciting. It's been really challenging. And I think I've gotten to use everything that I learned in those previous 20 years in NBI, and feeling very relaxed and comfortable about the challenge. It is a big challenge, but like to date, we've kind of overcome that challenge. So that kind of brings you right up to present day to now. And
so tell us a little bit about your role now at National Broadband Ireland, and the part you have to play in the bigger
again,
overall picture.
Like any role in an organization, it grows over time. So initially I was brought in and the focus was very much to, build a learn and development department from the ground up. Literally, there was absolutely no systems in place, no process, no procedures. And, to start that and do everything from the outset, and do it the way I wanted it to be done as well. So obviously, you have to conform to certain rules and guides, but I got to shape it as much as possible. I know recruiters use that as a way to attract people. You come in and ground, it's a blank canvas, all this. It literally was a blank canvas. MBI's original recruitment strategy was, we'll bring in people who are experts in their field and just let them do what they're good at and get on with the job, because we didn't have the luxury of bringing people in and slowly, embedding them in the organization. It was like, you come in and you hit the ground running, because we had signed a government contract, and we had to deliver on that contract from day one, and we're continuing to deliver on it. But so there was no time to kind of find your feet, whatever. And I think that's where the experiences in FBD and the mentoring and all the lessons learned there were really, really valuable. I was able to come in. There were some things that I wasn't an expert in, but I had an awareness of, and I had some knowledge of. And so that was the kind of the mandate in the first year. And then as the organization grew, and it grew quite rapidly after year one, we now had people, on seats delivering, doing their jobs. And I was about starting to kind of build an organization and, become a steady organization. I would say we probably didn't achieve that until maybe, the latter end of year two. But it was putting in place all those things that individuals who had worked for large organizations and very successful organizations had come to expect as the norm in any organization that they join, whether it be, a proper structured performance management process, whether it's access to an online learning management system, it's access to, LinkedIn learning, it's access to external courses, internal courses, development courses, soft skills, all that stuff was there all those expectations were there from day one, despite us being a tech startup. So that was kind of really challenging as well to try and balance that out. But we've done a good job so far, and I use we because it is literally it's a team effort. And as things progressed, I have a new chief people officer. He came in and recognized that actually what you're doing is much more than learning and development. Actually encompasses a whole lot more things. And if you want to use a kind of something to encompass all that, you're actually effective. You're in talent management. So that was the first time that somebody said to me, actually, you're the business you're in is talent management. So I got a new job title, and then things continued from there. I suppose the work was the same, but I suppose there was recognition that actually what you're doing encompasses a whole lot more, and we need to reflect that in your job title and in the organization so people understand that. And then I got a unique opportunity to actually, at this stage, I still didn't have any direct reports. The team's quite lean, and I got an opportunity to actually manage the HR operations team while a colleague of mine was on maternity leave. And that was really interesting, and it was really challenging. And I did that for about a year. And I'd always said when I got into HR that, I'm not a HR person. And in my mind, again, it's quite a narrow view of, it was a narrow view of HR. It was that, I want to do the fun and exciting stuff. Like, it's very rare that people give out about, like, you send them on like a course that they've asked for, or you're developing them, or you're helping them, or you're spending money or investing in them. So I was like, I wanted to be like, to me, L&D talent management was always kind of the PR side of HR. It was the good stuff, was the fun stuff, the stuff that motivated me. So I really steered clear of the HR operations stuff for a long time. But anyway, like anything, you get an opportunity, you get these opportunities come up, and either refuse to take them, or you go, do you know what? I'm going to take this on. And I did. I took it on because I actually wanted a challenge. I wanted something a little bit different. I wanted to be completely out of my comfort zone. So I did that for about a year, and then my colleague opted not to come back to the organization. So that became a permanent thing. So I think my official title now is head of talent and people operations. So I still managed to leave the HR bit.
That's the official one.
Yeah. Again, there wasn't much thought that was put into the people operations thing. It was my boss is a chief people officer, so I thought maybe my title should have people in it. So that's where I am now, and I've been doing that. So I'm still doing the talent management piece, but now I have a people operations team of 3 people, 3 fantastic people, and they're really making my life very, very easy, I suppose. So that's
and John, I just picking up on something there, which is something I've really experienced of you, is where you're very open to challenge, and you're open to trying things out in ways that lots of other people kind of scare away from until it's been tried and tested. We really experience that with virtual reality learning tools, and I've seen it in lots of other ways where you're willing to just grab things and let's just give it a go and see what happens. And like, let's fail fast, that kind of mentality, that attitude, which is, I think, really important in today's world, like more important than ever. And just, I suppose, just to build on that, could you tell us a little bit about the values that you hold that are really important to you, and why they're important to you, and how they've helped you to get where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably give you 3 core values, but I mean, like, to me, there are multiple sub values underneath them. But I suppose for the purpose of this conversation, and for simplifying, I would say like key core values for me are relationships, and I'll break that down in a minute. Happiness is a core value for me, and then growth would be another one. So I mean, if you want my top 3, there are 3. Now, when I say relationships, I mean that, like, a sub value that is family. It's about having in a professional context, it's about having, like, your, as people call it, your personal boardroom, or your network of people. I call them my, like, Avengers, like people that you can call on when there is trouble, or when you just want to have a laugh, or do fun things together. And yeah, I suppose, like, because I value, like, trust, I value respect, mutual respect. Safety is a big thing for me as well. And I associate, when I say safe, I mean, like, I think for anybody to kind of to succeed or thrive, you need to have that, like, both, like, I suppose it's back to your hierarchy of needs, if you want to quote Maslow. It's that, like, physical and psychological safety, because I think if you don't have that, you'll find it very hard to, to live up to your value of growth or whatever, like, because your main focus is on being safe and secure. So like that's reflected in my career decisions as well. Like I took a safe option and I went and I worked for an insurance company at the age of 17 and in an office, and I thought this sounds safe and there's a roof over my head. I remember there was another opportunity at the time to become an apprentice plumber, and I remember speaking to I can't remember which of my two brothers, and they said, yeah, it's great and the money's great at the moment, and there was just building boom was just kicking off because it's like it's Celtic Tiger here. Because but on winter days it's not very safe or it's not very comfortable, so go with the office. So yeah, I took the safe option, the secure option, the secure income with an insurance company. I felt like insurance is going to be around for a long time, so this is kind of a safe bet, and I went with that. And yeah, I suppose, sorry, Celine, ask me the question again. I've gone off the tangent.
Yeah. If you just come back to what values, you were talking about relationships, happiness, growth, you were digging into trust, respect, and safety, and why they're important to you and how they may have helped you get to, where you are today in life and work and everything that you're doing.
So I think having steady relationships and building solid relationships with people, both in your personal and professional career, gives you a sense of happiness. So it fulfills that piece, but also it gives you the opportunity then to, I suppose, grow and innovate and challenge yourself, because you know that the foundation is there to do that. I just think otherwise it's quite risky in my view. So I always I always weigh up the risk versus reward. And if I know that those two things are tucked up, safe away, I'm happy, I have a steady base, whether it be at work or at home, I know then I can go and I can, thrive in and grow. So I suppose they're the three core things for me.
Yeah. And would you be happy to talk a little bit about any specific incidences, experiences in life, people in your life that helped you to recognize those particular values? So usually it's kind of people around us or the experiences that we have that help us to realize that value is really important to me.
Yeah, I suppose if I think back to from a family perspective, the family were all my parents were always in a social setting and always interacting with people. And I suppose coming from a background where you grew up in the 80s, so for most families, you're in a recession, there was you didn't have many luxuries, I suppose. So I suppose if anything, that made you value the most basic things, and one of those things is having people around you to have to kind of have fun with, to grow up with, and to learn from as well. So that was instilled from a very early age, is that relationships are important in any aspect of life, and you should foster those relationships, and you'll reap the benefits, and the other person will as well, because obviously it's a two-way thing. In terms of work, at a very early stage, I remember I was working in insurance claims, and my line manager at the time, who I'm actually meeting next week, I went to him, I referred to him, and it was a case involving a solicitor. And I said, I think I have this one. I think I can actually get one over on the solicitor here. And he said, I'll stop you there. I said, what? I'm right. He's like, no, you're 100% right. He said, but he goes, you have to be in this for the long game. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, this isn't the first time that you'll interact with this solicitor. If you have a career in claims, you'll probably deal with this person, every few months, and for the next 10, 20 years. So he said it's a case of give and take, and fostering long-term relationships, and that stuck with me. So whilst you don't appease everybody and you give in to their demands, you have to recognize that it has to you have to have a situation where it's win-win for in most cases for both people. And I think if you can do that, if you can find what's in it for the other person, well then they'll feel better, you'll feel better, and ultimately you'll form some sort of strong rapport with them. and it will stand to you in the future, because you will encounter these people in your lifetime again. And we all know Ireland is a particularly small place as well, and insurance is an even smaller place. So yeah, so I think that's kind of my earliest memory of somebody actually, like, actually saying it to me, that you need to build relationships, you need to work on them, and you will get the return on investment from that. And then when it comes to growth, I suppose, like I was always quite ambitious anyway. Like, I mean, even within claims, like from memory, I probably had about 5 or 6 different roles within the claims department. I was always moving. So my mindset was, well, if I don't want to move outside of this safe building, this safe organization, how can I kind of fulfill that need in me for growth? And one of the ways is about just looking at all the opportunities, taking on new opportunities, and taking on different roles. And I suppose that's how I fed that core value of mine. And I did that for a long period of time until I actually went into learning and development. And then in learning and development, I suppose the growth piece was just fulfilled by, like, Catherine, who was on the call. Catherine was just every day was a different day. Catherine would come up with like these most innovative, crazy ideas, and my colleague Angela would be like, no way. Like, she was so risk adverse, where I was just like, yeah, variety. This sounds good. This sounds like something different. This sounds like something fresh. We haven't done this before. I'll learn from this, and we'll have a bit of fun along the way. And some stage we'll panic along the way as well. But you know what? Like, we know what the end game is, so let's just go there. And I think that's where, from an early age, and in terms of career, where somebody actually said to me, like, you don't need to know all the steps in between. It's like we'll figure it out to some extent along the way. And that's not to say that we didn't have a plan, or we didn't know the steps, but like some parts of it were just unclear. But we knew we knew what the vision was, and we knew what success looked like. And we literally at pace reverse engineered that, and just achieved what we needed to achieve. And the beauty of not having a watertight plan is it allows you to be agile as well and flex. Catherine will say I winged it some of the time, but I'd say I was agile, and in some cases that suited her. So that was really that really fulfilled the growth part of it as well. And I suppose just having a strong, small core team around you, that was stable in itself, because you knew if the person that was leading your team was comfortable with the ideas or what we were implementing, well, then you were safe enough to run with it as well. So that's one. Then happiness is just, I suppose, where did that come from? I don't think I've ever met a person that doesn't want to be happy. So I mean, I think that's a core value of every person. I do remember in all college.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, misery is optional. So yeah, I don't choose it. Yeah, I mean, I suppose happiness comes back to your just having fun in life, ensuring that you're in the right job, in the right organization, surrounding yourself with good people, positive people, even people that will challenge you as well. And my happiness, I suppose, comes primarily from my family life. I'm happily married for a long time. And I've known my wife since I was 16 years of age, and we got married at 26. Around the same time that I was growing in my career and took on that challenge of moving into an L&D function, we were about to have our first baby as well. So that was a really high growth period for me at that stage. And we've since had another child as well. So I suppose that's where I draw my happiness from in a personal capacity, and then friends and family around me. And then in a work context, just make sure that wherever you're working, and it sounds cheesy because we're talking about values, but it is aligned to your values. When you asked me to do this, and I was kind of reflecting, I was going, what are my core values? And what are our organizational values? And how do they align? And when I think about it, the reason I think I'm so happy and comfortable in MBI is because some of their core values are actually my core values as well. We have courage to innovate, it's growth. We have collaborate for success. I'm just yeah, that's me. That's it. I'm all over that. I'm all about collaborating with people and building relationships. So the organization's value align very much with mine, and I think that's kind of the sweet spot that you need to reach. And if that's not happening for you, if you're unhappy in your job, well, then you need to question that. I suppose I know it's not everybody can move positions, but I mean, do look for opportunities that align with your values. So.
Yeah, actually, talking about collaboration, that's one of when you reflect on when you've known somebody for for a number of years, and you've seen them in different situations, and I would say collaboration is, you know, definitely one of your top values. Because it's interesting, isn't it, everyone, when you reflect on, you know, our own values, and then we talk with other people about their values, and a lot of people will say, oh yeah, honesty, integrity, or collaboration, or all these things are important to me, but then you go, I'm not really seeing that being played out. Everything you're talking about here, John, is something I experience. I see how you build relationships. I see how you actually you feel and create happiness from how you go about things. So you actually are a spreader of happiness, actually. So I can see how it's a really important value. And obviously, yeah,
I
as
feel
I
like we
said
should go on
earlier,
tour.
openness to growth. We should go on tour, yeah.
LinkedIn job,
And yeah,
spreader
so
of happiness.
spreader of happiness, yeah. And collaboration and relationships, and that all works so well together, you know. So yeah, it's thank you for sharing, and I know that you know, it really sounds like you had a secure basis when you were younger, as in there was values that were really being lived out, but then you've pulled through to the rest of your life. And then, and as you say, meeting Mel when you were 16, and you know, you're one of the lucky ones. You met somebody at a very young age who you really connected with, and who you were able to build a beautiful family together with. So yeah, it's all, I can kind of really see it as you're speaking about it. And I suppose, yeah, just to kind of really jump into another topic, but it might be connected because one of your values is growth, is how you came to writing the book and deciding to publish it. I know it's a short book. So the HR Learning and Development for Newbies, tell us a little bit about why you decided to write that and what maybe your hopes are for it.
Yeah, I think this comes back to again about the value of growth and challenging yourself, because you approached me, I think it was just like COVID had just started, and you were looking for somebody in L&D to mentor an individual who had never worked in L&D before. And again, at the time, you kind of it's the same thing goes through my head all the time. It's like, oh, really, Nick? I don't think I'll be able to do that. Like, you know, I've managed people, and I've helped people, and I've coached people, and I've done all those things. But I couldn't be a mentor. And then but that thing in me was like, yeah, but this is shiny and new. It's a challenge, and like, you know, it's an opportunity for you to grow, and an opportunity for you to find out things that you don't know, you know, as well as share the things that you do know. So that started, and as so initially it was very formal, and then it, like, you know, as we grew, like, again, we built that relationship and that trust. I started to reflect on it more and more, and I started to write down the things that I was being asked, and then the things that I was sharing as well. And going, like, in my mind, some of the stuff was very, like, I suppose, basic. Like, you want to say, like, you know, what's that unconscious competence, isn't it? But actually, I realized that no, like, this just stuff that you are sharing is actually might be valuable to other people, and you know, you should kind of write it down. And is there a way of doing this at scale where you can, like, you can't mentor everybody that's new to learning development, but is there, in some way, can you give people a sense of what to expect from learning development? Because if I rewind to 2008, 2009, I did not know what to expect. I did not know what learning development was. And if somebody at that stage had handed me like a document, or had mentored me at that point and said, here's all the things that you can expect to encounter, and here's some of the things that you can do to kind of reduce the pressure, or to, you know, to help you on your journey, I would have, like, just bit their hand off to get that information. I'm not saying that you should, like, you know, you shouldn't do things just because you don't know the path that you're going on. But I mean, so in my mind, I was like, well, I need to document this in some way. And it was never really, I don't think I ever envisaged that I was actually going to put it into a book. It was more so, well, if I need to do this again, at least, you know, I know that there's a number of topics that I can cover off. And if he's thinking this way, the mentee, and here's some of the things that he's asking as he's new to learn development, well, then no doubt if I mentor somebody in the future that's new to learn development, they'll be asking similar types of things. So I kind of have a ready-made pack available, or a blueprint for this relationship, because that was the first time I, like, actually formally mentored somebody. And then it just grew from there. And I went, no, actually, it was COVID. We were, like, a lot of people were bored. I had a lot more time on their hands. And I just started to write the book. And then I started to kind of research some of the things that I was putting down on paper, because like I'm very much like, I'm a very practical person. I will do things and write things down, and then later on I'll go back and I'll find a white paper to support that in some way, or I'll find the theory behind the practical element of something. So and that's essentially what I did. And then I went through a process of getting it peer reviewed. You read it a number of times. Maura Dolan, who I don't think is on the call, from the Life and Executive Institute, she read it a number of times, and I got multiple pieces of feedback from both of you, and other people read it as well and gave me feedback, even people that weren't in learning and development, which was good as well. And that really, like, I think there was about 20 versions of the book, even up until 2 weeks ago when I actually published it. Like, I mean, there was a new version again, because you read it over and over again and go, is that really hitting home? Is that the message that you want the reader to receive? So that's what brought me to the point of actually coming up with the idea of the book, documenting it, and publishing it. And publishing it there was a big gap between I'll say the second last final version of it, and actually publishing it. And it was sitting there, and like, I was constantly we had conversations bits, and I have conversations with other people as well about, like, what's the point? Like, why would I publish this? Like, I'm working in MBI. Like, I don't need to publish a book, whatever. And I just felt that it was just unfinished business. That's just that thing in me where actually I needed to follow through in it. And some of that stems back to, people in my life that influenced me at an early age in my life, where they were very knowledgeable people, very talented people, but actually they just didn't have the follow through. And that's something I think I fight against, like, throughout my entire life, is that, be a little bit of a completer finisher. Like, we recognize that you have loads of ideas, but actually sometimes you need to finish some of these things off. Like, so that's a real struggle for me. And I'll be really honest with the audience now, and anybody else that listens to this. 3 weeks ago, like, it was a Friday evening, and I had the option of, my wife went out, I had the option of sitting down, watching a good movie, typically a Denzel Washington movie, opening up a couple of beers, and just relaxing for the evening. And something in me just went, no, you're actually, you have time now. Like, just do it. It won't take that long, Mick. You'll be able to do it. I came in here, sat down in this very seat, and just finished it. And then the whole thing of self-publishing, like, again, that was a big learning curve for me. But I took on that challenge, and I just did it. And the book was published, and that was it. But that book has sat there. That book's probably sat there for the best part of a year and a half before it was published. And I don't know, just something in me that night just went, just finish this, just put it out there. Like, you've unfinished business.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we all experience. I don't think there's anyone on this call today or watching this later that won't have had that experience of doing something, creating something, writing something, having a conversation with somebody that they haven't seen through to the nth degree. And it's a really good feeling of completion. It's just completing the circle. It's like that psychological experience of, okay, I've done everything that I can do now. Of course, there's lots more you can do with marketing the book or getting it out there, spreading the word. But I definitely think, there's so many people I've met throughout my career that haven't written down, that were amazing mentors to me, but haven't written down everything that they know. So it's just, there's only a handful of us that have this information, and it's very frustrating to see people not finish through on that. So if you are here today and you have lots that you've learned over the years that you haven't, like, either recorded or put down into writing or just something, it's a really good experience and a powerful completion for yourself I think as a human being, if you're interested in learning or growth, or even we come back to collaboration, like being able to share that information with other people. And John, I know, we were talking before about artificial intelligence. I'm going to just put one more question to you here, and then I'm going to stop recording and we can open it up to
Okay.
everyone that joined us today. But AI obviously is on everyone's minds at the moment. And just if you have any insights into, because I know that you were looking at AI with the finishing, getting that book up with the book cover, etc.
Yeah.
Where do you see learning and development going into the future, considering artificial intelligence and other technologies?
Yeah, well, I'll be open and transparent and say that the images that you see in the book, if you're kind enough to download it, are all generated by AI, and that was probably one of the blockers to actually publishing the book. It was like,
Yeah.
finding appropriate images, and I did. Every chapter starts with an image that I hope represents the chapter content, and then I start every chapter with a quote as well. So kind of quotes that have influenced me throughout my career. So that's my kind of first like positive experience, I suppose, of using AI to help me. Um, I just like I'm by no means an expert in artificial intelligence, and I'm not from a tech background either. I do like technology, and I like the way technology enabled us to do things, and most of the time do things at scale. Like for example, the virtual reality piece that we did, we wouldn't have been able to do that, like unless we had that technology. So it has its place. That's my starting position. Is it intelligent? I'm not so sure that artificial intelligence is actually intelligent, or is it just a database of information, and it's like in most cases providing you with the most likely answer to your question. So I'm a little bit skeptical and about that. I do think that there's a risk to learning in general from AI, and I was trying to jot down some very like practical examples of this. If I go back to when e-learning was the new and shiny thing in town, and suddenly everybody said, well, oh, no more classroom training, we're going to put everything online, get all our PowerPoint decks, put them online, and everybody, that's the future of learning, everybody will do it online. And don't get me wrong, e-learning has its place, and it still adds value to organizations, but I'm a little bit worried about that, in that people think that the AI is so sophisticated and it's foolproof that actually some organizations might say, oh, actually, it's actually cheaper if we invest in AI. If we opt for AI, it's a learning tool. People can use that. We don't need skilled subject matter experts, whether they be internal or external. We'll just give everybody access to Microsoft Copilot, or we'll give them access to ChatGPT, like the full version, and we'll roll it out across the organization. And sure, everything will be great. Any question anybody has, they can find the answer there. So that's my worry, is that some organizations will really run with this without actually having a proper strategy behind it. And I think that will be the key, is like, okay, you have your L&D strategy. AI is just going to be one tool that you will use to kind of fulfill that strategy. But it shouldn't be that the tech and the AI is going to lead your strategy in your organizations. I think, and that goes for any sort of I suppose, learning tool as well. And we experienced that as well with the virtual reality at the time. I wanted to use virtual reality, and the technology was nearly leading the business case. And you're like, no, let's stop. And that's it. Like for anybody that's on this call, it took us nearly a year and a half to actually go, no, this is where this piece of technology fits within our strategy, and here's how it can add value, and we can get a real return on investment. So like I'm a little bit apprehensive about it, because I do think that some organizations will just let the technology lead their L&D strategy. And there's implications for people in the L&D world as well, and also for external people like yourself, Celine, and anybody else that's an external L&D expert. In that, like, people will just use the technology, and the human side of things will be dropped altogether. So I think we have to strike a balance. It's definitely going to add value. It really will.
It's a tool alongside lots of other tools.
It's just another tool in my mind. And I think it will create efficiencies, and Gen AI will create efficiencies, because you can ask Gen AI certain questions, and it will give you a form of words. And then from there, you can tweak those words. It's no different than asking somebody in your team, can you draft an email for me with regard to, the performance management cycle? And they draft it and they send it to you, and you review and reflect, and you go through various iterations and you give feedback. I think Gen AI can do that piece for you, and you can then critique that, and you can mold it and make it fit what you need to do. So I do think it has a place 100%. I worry in education where it's actually going to like sit, and implications of that, like, because you have people just basically being fed information. Is the actual proper learning process taking place, or are they just being thrown information? And it's not even information that they're reading, it's just information that they're copying and pasting. So like, are they even able to remember or list the things that they've asked Gen AI? Probably not, because there's 30,000 words in their paper. So I'm a little bit apprehensive, but I'm also excited as well, because that part of me,
Yeah.
that's it's new technology. It will enable us to do things that we couldn't do before. We can do things at scale. But you know, I think for anybody that's involved in L&D, make sure it's just something that enables your strategy as opposed to leads your strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a tool of many tools, and I suppose that's one of the reasons we keep coming back to values, is that we have to think about the human element. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the recording here, and we're just going to open it up to the gang that are here with us today. So John, tell us where we can get the book.
Yeah, so I've had a number of queries about this from I suppose participants on this call, and then just in general from people. So at the moment the book is available through Amazon Kindle, so you can download it on the Kindle app. There isn't a hard copy version of it at present, but who knows what will happen in the future. So I'd invite you to go onto the Kindle app, and if you just search on my name, the book will appear straight away. You don't need to put in the title, and from there you can download it, and hopefully you enjoy what's inside.
And the sky's the limit. Thank you so much, John, for joining us today. And just to finish out on this, at Adaptas, we work with individuals, teams, and organizations to help high performance. And we do this in lots of different ways, through one-to-one coaching, team coaching, learning programs, and workshops. And of course, video and virtual reality learning tools, some of which we were talking about today. And get in touch. And thank you again to John Mulreid. Give us your title again, John, at NBI right now. It's Talent
Head
Development.
of Talent and People Operations.
Check out John on LinkedIn. Connect with him. He's a great person, living his values of growth, relationships, and happiness. And I'm joining in with collaboration. See you all soon for the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.